Has NuPoo finally been axed? That's the question we ask ourselves today as the news breaks on the mainstream media tabloids in the UK that Fruity Gaywad will not be coming back to the role. Hallelujah, that's a good start. Mind you, if we keep these same people in charge that gave us him and freaking Piss Taker, I can only imagine what we'll get next. A disabled Muslim lesbian or something in a wheelchair, of course. You know, anything other than anyone that resembles the actual Doctor. But according to The Sun, it's not just that. According to The Sun, the show's basically been axed. Not expected. They'll bring it back eventually, 5 to 10 years, but yeah, it's done. And, you know, the evidence has been building up in recent weeks. We pretty much know that Disney's gone already. They're not giving it any promotion. Davis called it an experiment when a couple of years ago this was the future for forever, basically. Yeah. As well as him moving on to do his usual degenerate Channel 4 crap that nobody watches. Why didn't you just do that in the first place, Rusty, instead of coming back to further bury this show? Is anybody's guess. I have to admit, my initial reaction to this when I first, because I actually just got up a couple of hours ago, and one of the first things that came up on YouTube, because I tend to watch a YouTube video while I'm having my breakfast before I do anything else. The first thing I saw was like Doctor Who axed, and I have to be honest, my initial reaction was. After about 75 minutes of this, I calmed down enough to actually watch the video and read the articles and check out what other people were saying, etc. Yeah, it's not looking good, is it? I'm aware that the BBC have denied it, although they haven't denied that Fruit is out. But yeah, it doesn't look good, does it? I mean, we know about Bad Wolf renting out their studios. All this stuff has been percolating and building up pieces of evidence. We know, again, if Series 1 had been a big success, they'd have commissioned Series 3 at the time. All this, we're waiting till Series 2 is a lot of crap. Nobody does that. Not with a show like this. Because if let's say, for the sake of argument, this is true. It's not. But let's say, for the sake of argument, it is. That's mid this year. There's no way they can go into immediate production then. It takes months of pre-production to do sets and things like this. So it's all crap. So that would mean that would mean the earliest you'd be getting a new season, 2027, maybe even 2028. So we know that's bollocks, and nobody does that with a supposed hit show that, remember this from Rusty not that long since, is going to be on every year from now on with no breaks. What a load of bollocks. So yeah, let's take the assumption that, you know, the Sun article is true. It's not just that Fruit is gone. The show's done. You know, again, it'll never die entirely. They'll always find a way to bring it back, I think, because they know deep down, BBC Studios do anyway, that there's money in it. But they're getting any of that money making it this way with these idiots. That's just a fact. And nobody apparently has either the talent or the ability or the willingness to make proper Doctor Who anymore. So yeah, the best thing you have to think from BBC Studios' perspective, because technically this isn't anything to do with the BBC, as in BBC One. It's made by BBC Studios along with Bad Wolf, because BBC Studios know there's money in it. That's their financial arm. That's the arm that, you know, is there to make money, and they know that Doctor Who makes money, but they're not making money off this shit. They weren't making it off the Whittaker era. That's why that got axed. And this is just the same, even and arguably even worse. So yeah, they're throwing good money after bad. They can pile in the money from Classic Who merchandise. The Classic Who sets sell out every single bloody time. They're like #1 on Amazon within about an hour. But nobody's buying this shit, and nobody's buying the other merchandise. It's an absolute failure. It's flopped with the general audience. It's flopped with the fans. No one wants this shit. Maybe, just maybe, somebody somewhere at BBC Studios has gone, you know what, we could probably make more money just releasing the merchandise and not actually making the show. Just like they did in the 90s, really. Until they can find somebody somewhere that doesn't have their head firmly lodged up their rectal passages and would actually make a Doctor Who that would actually be successful and popular and sell. And it's not coming from any of these clowns. Now, what do I personally feel about this? Well, I kind of gave that away with my hysterical laughter a moment ago. I want it gone. I'm sorry. I'm at the point now, I wish it had never come back. Because for the most part, none of it's been very good. And after 2017, it has been nothing but an absolute embarrassment. It's an insult to the original show, to everybody who made the original show, and to all of us actual fans of the original show. This grotesque Frankenstein's monster, funhouse mirror, twisted parody is an embarrassment. This show was once respected. Oh, the mainstream media would have tried to tell you it wasn't, but it was respected by smart fucking people. I remember the story. It was a few years ago about a college professor who used to have a Dalek in his office and would even use Doctor Who stories to illustrate things in his classes. He stopped doing it. I'm not talking about the Whittaker era. I'm talking about a few years into New Who, into the Davis era. He stopped doing it because it was dumbed down. Even then, I completely believe it. I'm sorry. I don't like New Who. I love the original show. I've started watching it a bit more now. The last couple of years have been a bit rough, partly because of New Who, partly because of other things. I watched a grand total of 4 Doctor Who stories last year, all classic, of course. This year, I've already watched 3, and it's only mid-bloody February. I've already watched 3. I've nearly watched as many. I just seem to be getting a bit more... I seem to be getting the enthusiasm back. I can only imagine that'll get even better once we don't actually have New Who on screen. And because, I mean, even though I don't watch it, you know, you still hear all the fans. I'm still part of the Who, the Who communities on YouTube and that. And you basically have to drop all of fandom entirely to not hear about it. And it can just be depressing as hell hearing about it. So once we get this shit off the air, hopefully permanently, yay, maybe I'll be watching even more of the proper stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know some people... I know a lot of fans who hate this stuff are still sad that this seems like it's true and that, and I get it. But I'm not sad because this is not Doctor Who. It hasn't been Doctor Who for at least 7 years, 8 years. Arguably, it never really was. There is a definite argument to be made that Doctor Who died in 1989 and never came back, dude. And that's, at the end of the day, that's the show I'm a fan of. The one that ended in 89. Even discounting the last 8 years and just taking like the first 10 seasons, New Who still wouldn't be one of my favourite shows. It still wouldn't be one of my favourite sci-fi shows. I could chuck a rock and hit a better sci-fi show than New Who, even at its supposed best. And it's been, again, for the last 8 years, it's been nothing but an absolute failure and embarrassment. It needs to go. It needs to go. It needs to go until the landscape has changed, until sanity has returned to the TV industry in this country. And frankly, until nobody involved with New Who can come back. If it ever comes back at all, it needs completely new people making it completely differently than New Who. And even then, I'm not sure I'd be back for it, because frankly, I'd be asking, are you still keeping Fruity and Piss Taker in canon? Because no. And B, I'd be asking, how are you making it? Are you actually going to make it properly? Are you going to make it a series of serials again, like it always should have been? Or is it going to be 45-minute runarounds again that do nothing? Because again, not interested. So, But I'm sure some people would. Oh, you're me. You're a big meanie for laughing. Maybe I am. That's what happens when you get like what 8 years of abuse from people for pointing out that shit stinks. You tend not to give too much of a fuck about their feelings when the hammer comes down and reality sets in. Sorry, don't care. Anyway, I'm rambling now. I don't want this video to go on forever. I just I wasn't planning to make a video for today. I've got a video already scheduled and uploaded and everything for Friday, but with this news and it seems to be quite a breaking story. Again, there's some doubt as to whether it's completely true, but it does seem almost certain that fruit is already gone, and it does seem very certain that it's going to be at least a few years before you get any more. And we can only hope to God that Russell the Degenerate and the rest of his insane cult are not allowed anywhere fucking near it if it does. I'm fine with it being gone. The fake fans can piss off to infest some other franchise and destroy it. They're bringing Buffy back, so they're certainly going to fuck that up to the end of the degree. And real fans can just enjoy proper Doctor Who again and forget this bloody nightmare ever happened. Anyway, bye for now. Talk to you again on Friday.